Hello and welcome to the Uprising Show. And today I have Stacy with me. Stacy, first of all, welcome to the show and take a few minutes to give a brief introduction about yourself, please.
Yes. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. My name is Stacy. I'm the CEO of a company called Ventur. We offer a personalized health insurance platform for employers. And this is my second company I actually started. It was inspired by company number one. Grew up in San Diego, California, so sunny San Diego. Live in San Francisco today, and excited to tell you more about what we do, why we do it, and just chat.
Thanks, Stacy. Before we go into the business side of things, I like to go back in time and tell me a little bit about your upbringing, where you were born and raised. Also, tell me if you were that entrepreneurial kid who had lemonade stands, and was either of your parents an entrepreneur, please?
Yeah, I love that question. So, both of my parents were entrepreneurs, actually, and they were husband and wife small business owners. Actually, they still are entrepreneurs today. So, they're both engineers. Met actually in a PhD program for engineering. My mother is from Taipei. That's how she came to the US. My dad is from Appalachia. So, very, very different backgrounds coming together, but they came together because they love to build. And so I don't know what normal family conversations are like, but at my family, dinner is about, oh, what if we built this robot? What if we built this software platform? What if we did this? And so this kind of tech, especially a tech oriented entrepreneurial spirit, has been part of my whole life. I am the black sheep of the family. I actually am the only one who didn't become an engineer. I spent my first part of my career in foreign policy. I wanted to see the world, and I just still love that. And the whole arc of my career has been about how do we help people live healthier and wealthier. And worked for organizations like Doctors Without Borders and the UN, and in the private sector for social impact organizations. But what kind of brought us here is actually my family story. So I co-founded Ventur 4 years ago with my brother. This is startup number three for him. It's business number two for me. And we did so because actually health insurance has been a lifelong family problem for us. And the first year of my parents' business, my dad actually got really, really sick. Wasn't supposed to live till 40. And the health insurance plan we had, which was an individual plan, because that was what was available to our family, saved his life and changed our life. It meant that we had control over managing our finances in a way that a lot of employees don't. And we had control over our provider network in a way that a lot of employees don't. And so what we do today builds upon that experience and brings the best part of that experience at a much better price point to the market. But that's part of why it's to us this is really personal because it's something we've lived and also know how much it can impact somebody's entrepreneurial and creative journey. Like health is a foundation that sometimes we take for granted. So,
Yeah. And what was your first business before this, that the company that you founded?
yeah. So in the okay, my one of my superpowers is I am very good at government contracting and winning new business especially for internationally minded organizations. And so I did that to the tune of, I think, year to date, my win or career to date, I have over 10 billion in wins and contracts. And so I did that as a consulting my own. I was like, okay, well, and worked with over 20 organizations in the span of 18 months. Had the laziest customer acquisition. You will find nothing about this business because people are like, how did you acquire customers? And they're like, at that point, I was known for doing this. So I would wake up and there'd be emails about and I'd kind of pick and choose, do I want to take this on? I started to scale the business. And actually, I was buying benefits for the first time for employees. And that's where I got so mad at the process that Ventur came about.
Got it. Wow, interesting. Really fascinating. Um, there are few things here that I would point out. So, I come from a very much like service class background, and also like my parents are still in India, so I always felt like it struggled to like make a leap towards entrepreneurship. It was like I had to like practice my mind to get there, or even to this point I have to like stretch myself to like take those leaps. So it's fascinating that both your parents were entrepreneurs, and the talk was building stuff at the table. um, the second thing I find really fascinating is how you stumble upon this idea like from one business to another. And so a little bit about this business, your company. So I'm guessing that was the moment that led to the in your mind that this is the company I create, or was it something else?
Yes.
And then also, can you also you explained it, but can you go a little bit specific about the problems that it solves today, and how is it different from the existing solutions?
Yeah. So I think it's good to orient on business number one what that user experience was like, because that then makes our product make a whole lot of sense. So, business number one, I'm a first time entrepreneur. I figured out the paperwork for taxes and the LLC and all of that. And I've also figured out go to market, right? So I've got this influx of customers and I need to scale. And so I'm hiring employees and I want to be a good employer. So I know I need to offer health insurance, but 5 years ago, I had no idea how to do that. And I signed up for Gusto. I like awesome platform. They showed me all these quotes and I was like, I don't know what this means. And I felt so stressed about making this decision for somebody else. I'm like, what if I choose wrong? What if they can't, the doctor say me? Like, what, what if does that make me a bad employer? And it just was such an anxiety filled moment. And and that's, I think, as we've met other entrepreneurs, that's actually a very, very common feeling. Even if you're an experienced business owner, that's a common feeling. And maybe, for larger businesses with an HR team, it's something that is taken for granted. But for smaller businesses, I'd say like under 25, that is a huge pain point in market. So then I pick a plan, COVID happens, and employees start moving everywhere. And then I get a call from an employee basically saying, we were on a Kaiser plan. So Kaiser all of a sudden told our employee that they moved out of the area where Kaiser serves. Well, you can drive 4 hours to see a doctor, or you could just like pay everything on your own. And the employee comes to me and she's like, I need to see the doctor, but I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't know what to do either. I call Kaiser. They give me a PDF with 500 pages and they say, like, see this page. And it was like not an actual answer. And at that point, I'm going in this level of detail because, like, that's how mad I got. That is like, I was like, what is this? So the business that we offer today it builds off of regulation that a lot of people don't know exists. It's called an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement. And what that means is that a business can provide cash instead of a group health plan. So instead of the business owner picking for the whole group and deciding, they set aside a budget, it's pre-tax for the business, pre-tax for the employee. And then what we've done as a company is built a platform where the employee gets to pick the plan that is best for them. So if I'm a California company, I can have an employee on Blue Cross Blue Shield, I can have a company on Anthem, like Kaiser. It doesn't matter. Like, each person gets to do what is best for them. And on top of that, they don't have to spend all the money on health insurance. They can keep whatever they don't spend as cash. That's also pre-tax. And that could be used for medical expenses. So, and even better, it usually saves the business 20 to 30%. So we started off thinking this is a small business product, solving a pain point that my family had lived in different ways, and across multiple businesses. And our smallest customer today has one employee. Our largest customer has 5,000 employees. And what we found is that even with like a sophisticated HR team, this product allows for personalization. So some of our larger clients, one of them, I think of them often, has 400 health plans across 20 different carriers, just to give you a sense of just the level of demand for personalization in market. And so we see ourselves as solving two pain points: personalization. Fundamentally, it's also about cost. And that same employer also saved literally millions of dollars. They saved over 100 jobs because they didn't have to do layoffs because they had this budget windfall from switching over to this the
Wow.
ICRA
I mean,
model.
uh, I want to unpack this a little bit. So, on the
Yeah.
employer side, is it like you're saying they also save, but is it more on like they still have to commit the amount from the
Yeah.
beginning, right? And that's what it starts. So they go, they are able to save upfront itself. So they are very clear. This is what it will be, and that's the amount they put it. That's how that works. The
Mhm.
saving for the
Right.
employer. Okay, and for the employees, I go in your platform, or is it a tech like
It's
a
yeah,
solution? Yeah,
mhm.
and then employees
That's
can
correct.
go in, and then basically they can search for the all the plans that
Yeah.
are suits, and you are aggregating that marketplace for the employees. That's how it works. You go on the back
Mhm.
end partnerships with all plans and bring them up on
Yeah.
your marketplace, and that's how that works,
That's
right?
correct. I would say there's
Okay.
one more small detail that
Mhm.
so for this product, it exists today because of two reasons. Because the Affordable Care Act created Obamacare, and so what people don't realize is Obamacare now has over 20 million people. I think it's close to 25 million people on it, and like where I am, state of California, there's 2 million people, and that's bigger than most employers. So like you buy an individual plan, but they're priced together at the state level. So it's a risk pool of 2 million people. That's why the even a big employer can save big, because basically what we're doing
Right.
is we're basically taking these smaller groups, bringing them together, having them help have economies of scale. But to be honest, like that's not, like that's separate from our company. It's just something that in market has changed with or without us. We're basically helping an employer take advantage of the fact that the market has
Right.
structurally changed and
Yeah.
allows a new opportunity.
Wow, this is two thoughts like really popping in my head. One is like why we don't know about this more. But the second second thought is like I literally went through this experience a little bit with my employer, with the family of four. We were, I don't know, it was like close to $3,000 for us with company's share included, and then when I'm in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, and when I went by myself, which was a few months ago, and then I was able to buy insurance from UPMC, which is a great health system here, perfect,
Yeah,
right? And their health plan, and it was way, way, way cheaper than
yeah,
that we were paying there. And you're kind of doing that. You're basically aggregating all these plans and taking it to the
yeah,
employers and saying like, "Hey, there are better options." Because my wife and I were like, "Why didn't we buy this? Like, we should have like done this long before." Like that's how we were
yeah,
talking, and
yeah,
we were like, also like, this was a big part of also in decision making of like, being an entrepreneur yourself. You have to think about health insurance a lot, and there are, we didn't even think that there are options. So that one thing you said is like, it's we don't, there's very less awareness around this thing, and
yeah,
that is an important part to this. And then the second thing is like, I love this because look, you basically kind of like, I would have had this plan UPMC at my in your system. I would have gone and selected from there. That's how it would have worked instead of spending $3,000 that we were spending. So this is
yeah.
amazing. Okay, so how's the landscape for this? Is this like, do you have a lot of competitors for you, or is it
We're
like,
starting to. Yeah, we are.
hmm,
Like I think like the market's been there's kind of like an early adoption. Where this is at year 5 of this particular industry, and it's starting to
year
heat up.
five? Hmm.
Yeah. So definitely you're going to hear more and more about it. But, in the first 5 years, so that, like 2020 was the first year this was available legally, that any company could offer this. And a lot of people didn't make switches because of, you don't want to mess with things during the pandemic. And then you had, heard feedback of, oh, employees can't possibly choose. Like you hear that sometimes, or like you hear just like the other thing I would say is that the thing I've learned in building Ventur is about to go through its third open enrollment season. And to give you a sense of how we've scaled, we have 16,000 employees on our platform today. We're looking at tripling that. Year to date, we've grown actually 6x. So huge amount of like the pace is getting faster and faster and faster. Um, but you hear this kind of, there's a saying like, I think it was nobody gets fired for hiring IBM. That's like I think there's an equivalent in healthcare. Nobody gets fired for hiring Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I think what I've learned, there's so much fear and anxiety about healthcare. And that's what causes businesses to overpay. That's what accepts families to overpay. And what we're saying is there's a better option. And and Pittsburgh's actually one of the best places. Like it's Highmark and UPMC and I think some independents, I think, or
Hmm.
Pennsylvania confuses me. There's actually like eight
Jefferson.
or nine carriers.
Yeah.
There's Capital Blue, Oscar. Like let them fight over you. Let them earn your business. And like that competition in market, instead of one group being locked to one carrier, if each carrier has to compete over you, they're going to treat you better and they're going to offer you a better price. Like, and we're going to actually have competition in the market. But the problem is there's a lot of fear built up into healthcare. And I think what we try to do at our company is we have a huge educational component. We want to like, and also we want to make sure that we're there for you, as you make this journey and to like, we want more people to find what you did as a family of like, actually, why didn't I do this sooner? So, yeah.
Great. And
Anyways, I could go on and on. So I'll pause there though.
yeah. Well, my other question is like you said, market is opening up. There is going to be competition. Of course, there is going to be first movers advantage. You're a business who are already in there. What do you think is like other things that will help you still be competitive in the market? Where do you see like how would you maintain your defensibility in that way?
Yeah. So the core of our platform is actually an AI data model. So what we believe, so our team actually, our engineering team, our chief technology officer, is my brother, comes from the team that launched Bing, the search engine. So we have a huge background in data and analytics, but also AI. And what our core thesis is that once you unlock the money part, like instead of the employer kind of pre-deciding for you, you unlock personalized healthcare. And that data model, then in that AI layer, becomes important in terms of both how you should pick a plan, personalizing that choice, but personalizing your healthcare as well. So today we do a prediction of from payroll data of what could happen to you, what that costs, and we present you with options that are unique to you. So it's not just that we're saying, all right, you get cash and go, it's up to you, go beyond market. No, that's scary. We actually curate the experience. And so what you're able to do is basically think about almost like Netflix for health insurance. Like Netflix knows that I don't like scary movies. And they always know to put like, things in front of me that are like I'm going to like and I'm going to need. Some and Amazon does, right? Like every single piece of technology we interact with has some sort of personalization layer to it, except healthcare. So that's basically what we see as our differentiator. Others who are doing this are maybe, like more kind of administrative, like going the like kind of third party administrator route, like are kind of you thinking this is like, okay, you do have to have a payments component. You have to connect with the health plans, like thinking about the piping. We're thinking about personalization and value creation for the individual and their family to keep them healthy and wealthy.
And specific to AI, and now you said, obviously AI is going to play a big role in personalization, just like how it
Yes.
is. So, in your roadmap, specifically to both side employers and employees, are there things that you can share that you're thinking more towards how maybe just a few use cases of personalization, how that will work? Anything that you could share?
Yeah. So I'll take a really common one. When a lot of employee benefit tools, they'll ask you how many times you go to the doctor. Have you been ever asked that? How many times do you go to the doctor?
Never.
Okay, well you haven't. But like if you go onto like Penny or you go onto, sometimes like for large companies they buy a navigator to help employees pick a plan.
Oh, yes, yes,
So
yes. Yeah.
yeah,
I've been
we
asked
think
on
that's
pay. That's for sure.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We think that's a dumb question. Like most people are not good at answering that. Like I hope the answer for me is maybe zero, but like maybe you need to go to get your, physical or something. But you don't know. But there's enough data about you in the world that could be predicted. And so, for example, if you've got kids under 5, there is a strong likelihood one of them is going to the ER. Sorry to scare any parents here, but it's also true. So, but do you really want to think about that? And basically to do a really good job picking your health insurance, you kind of have to think about life and death, and that just makes it like super unpleasant. So that's where like kind of AI can help with like softening the shopping experience, bringing that in and making a better informed decision. And also like where you can get down into the condition level. So if you're managing diabetes, or you have a goal of, I have pain issue with my joints or something, like you can like get into this level of specificity. And that's also where you can also, the insurance carriers we partner with closely, it's not just on a distribution level, but it's also on a product level. I do believe you're going to see health insurance look very, very different than it does today, where you can have personalized health insurance plans that maybe cover different things depending on what is needed. Like maybe you're using this for behavioral health, maybe you're using it for MSK or so on and so forth. And then instead of like thinking about, okay, here's the group, this is what we need to pay for, and thinking about it that way, that you're starting to price at the individual level. And I think that's where it gets really interesting, and could unlock a lot of things in terms of especially lowering cost of care for families.
Wow. And
So
so two things I picked up from here. One is health insurance is kind of become, even though under companies, more individual and personalized. And second thing,
yeah,
even when individuals are picking, it's more personalized to them in very micro level, to the micro level, like, oh, you're this
yeah,
age group, this will happen, so this is probably the best plan. So all those predictive analytics and everything will play the role in making even recommendations based on profile, basically. Wow. Okay, this is
yeah,
really fascinating. So this is what you see like the next wave in the industry. This is where this will go.
yeah. 100%. I think like the comparison often made is, you know, um, 40 years ago everyone had a pension. Now they have a 401k. And so in that same model, it was a company direct, and maybe people you don't know directing your retirement. Now you have control over that investment decision. This is way more personal. This is about deciding how employers spend about $1.6 trillion a year on employee benefits. And 70% of employees don't really use their healthcare plan. So that's too much money. It's too much money to not be used. So what we're saying is, hey, let's give the employees some voice over how that money is spent on their behalf. And maybe when that happens, you're going to see the employee claim back part of the cash and buy something that they actually want, and that keeps them well. So,
Hmm, interesting. Well, we'll keep a watch on this trend, how this will go to fruition. But yeah, looks like this is how it should be. I mean, common sense wise, you would think that that's how it should be, right? So that's really interesting.
mhm.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about how are you acquiring your customers today, and also a little bit
Yeah.
things that are working and things that might not have worked. Talk to me both.
Yeah. So uh, we acquire customers in 3 ways. So we partner with insurance carriers, we partner with brokers, and then we also serve employers who come to us, reach out directly as well. So employers who tend to reach out directly tend to be on the smaller size. A lot of them are often getting their first start in their company and offering benefits for the first time. For brokers, honestly, it comes down to two things basically. This product favors, because of the way that the market is structured that underpins these plans. There's risk adjustment and reinsurance built into the products, so it favors groups with high utilization. So if a company has experienced a price hike, a broker usually will start to look at this model, or the broker may be like, hey, the client is tired of insurance. This gets them out of the business of insurance. Like, so that's how we work with brokers today. It's just basically thinking about what are the goals they have with their clients, and then finally, the insurance carrier part is so fun. So some insurers are really good at the individual market, some are not. Like UPMC and Highmark, both very good at the individual market, others not. So, or like maybe their book of business is like, so we are seeing, I think Oscar is the most famous of this now, right now. We're seeing carriers who are great at the individual market harness this new model of health insurance for market acquisition, and to like, who are partners with us in spreading the word and promoting the new model, and candidly also declaring a little bit of war on their other insurance carrier counterparts. And to us, part of that journey is also they're looking at how do we deliver a better consumer experience, and that's where we're philosophically aligned. So we do co-marketing with insurers as well.
Oh, that's really interesting. So it's kind of like, I mean, Oscar does great job in marketing, right? It's the insurance in the box. That's
Yes.
how they came out, and that's how they created whole buzz around it, right? They're a case study in that. But all other, I mean, yeah, I agree. UPMC and Highmark here in Pittsburgh, they do a great job. But never heard about like Blue Cross, for example, anywhere else, or any other Jefferson, for example. I don't hear about them either. So what exactly do you do with co-marketing? Are you like putting up in front their name with you when you are marketing, or is it more like more like we give you a placement on our platform, so that's how you're, and we because of your offering we are able to promote you on the top. Which is your strategy here?
Yeah, all great questions. So I want to take the last one first. So it's important to us at Ventur that we're Switzerland. It's about doing what's right for the consumer. So we have had insurers say, "Hey, can we do top placement?" We have said no, and as long as I am uh, in the CEO chair, we will continue to say no. It's about doing right with for what is in the interest of the consumer. But in terms of the carrier partnerships, so it depends on the carrier. Sometimes it's like a joint marketing, like like we'll do events for brokers, we'll do campaigns, show up at conferences together. Sometimes it's they have like their own brokerages, and we are kind of have some partnerships there. Or like for example, um, if the carrier, like maybe their sales team has a unique angle, or like if they see renewal quotes are past a certain point, some carriers are using this for retention. And then the closest relationship we have is we're actually a white label technology partner. So for certain carriers where they can actually offer their own version of this product, and we're basically the technology infrastructure to allow them to do that. So there's a lot of different ways we work with carriers. It's I think the hard part is each of them is unique, and each of them has a different position in market and what they want to accomplish. So our North Stars, as long as we're aligned in creating a better consumer experience that's more personalized and more affordable, we're excited to work with anybody.
Got it. And when you say you provide them white label solution, in that case it's just that insurance career, but they're different plans only to show up on your platform. That's all. Make it more like a
Actually,
self-serve for their.
they show all plans, so that's also where we add value, right? We show all plans on market, so it may be their product. Like for example, they've created, I don't know, like uh, they've created a product name for this, and we should usually revenue share in the ad administration fees. It's like another TPA product. But the kind of the fun thing is they get a win even if their competitor product is sold. And usually the reason why the carriers do this is because they get to learn, like, okay, first, like,
Mm.
why did that consumer pick that competitor product, and think, and have that be analytics that are fed into future years product development. And also they get to learn about pricing, right? Like, maybe, insurance carriers, it's funny, like, you think like on other products, you're like, oh, I want to see, like, if an employer has 100 people, I want all 100 people, right? But what if one of those people has like millions and millions of dollars of claims? Maybe you don't want them as a customer. So that's where insurance works a little differently. Like, they can like optimize for, like, I'm going to be the best at this, but I'm not really equipped to handle this. Or maybe they figured out, like, that $1 million customer, this is how we're going to make money at it. I'm actually really great at serving them. So that's actually where I think I said earlier, I think the plans are going to change. It allows them to think about, play around with different financial strategies, and kind of really specialize to different consumer bases.
Really fascinating. I feel like I got the answer to your future roadmaps too. Do you have many directions to go around if you have to like really scale business in different directions? Because there are these part of like just partnerships and co-promotions, and then there is white labeling solution to the brokers or to the insurances, and then on the consumer side you have the whole AI and personalization part. So it's a great space to be in, I would say. Okay, talk to me a little bit about your biggest challenges as a CEO. What's keeping you up in the night at the moment?
Yeah, the biggest thing that we are facing right now is the speed of growth, and it's a great problem to have. So I have to say I'm extremely fortunate, but it's really, really, really hard too. And like, to make sure the top of mind for us is maintaining product quality while we scale, and making sure, and for me personally, it's making sure that team members are well protected, right? So that we're not, burning people out. We're having a great, we're literally, you hear this probably from startups all the time. You're building the airplane as you fly it, that the airplane is strong, getting stronger, especially as it's taking on more and more new things. So that's basically it. I am also, for anyone who ends up, any listeners out there who are really great at hyperscale in highly regulated, complex markets, I'm all ears on your tips and tricks. We are good at it, but we could be better at it, and I'm excited to learn.
Great. All right. So, what's your current traction, and are you currently fundraising?
Sure. Well, at that, we do have a round closing that hasn't been announced. Fortunately, I can't say too much more on that, but I would say we're always fundraising at this point, and especially thinking about the speed of growth at this point. That's like number one for me, is making sure the company is well resourced to deliver on this tremendous customer demand we're seeing. And I see us 100% fundraising again in the future. At the moment, we are closing, or actually have closed a recent round, and but folks should expect to hear from us soon. Year to date, we have grown 6x, finishing the year at 30x, and about to cross the I think projected to be in January around the $12 million mark.
Nice. Um, Now, a little bit long term vision for the company. Where do you see the company in, let's say, 5+ years from now? What do you think is like your little bit long term vision for the company?
Yeah, well, I mean, even in the next, I look at our pipeline for the next year, and we have line of sight to become or be close to becoming a unicorn, and a company that more and more people have heard of and know of. That's the demand we see in market at the moment. 5 years from now, the my goal is that everybody knows that this model of insurance exists. It's the norm of what we do, and Ventur has the majority market share, meaning that there are 70 million people on our platform. And At that case, just to give you a sense of, like we're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar industry that this is poised to disrupt, and that, you know, we have created a new verb in market, like in the same sense that Uber or Airbnb disrupted transportation and hospitality, that you start to talk about us as the disruptors of health insurance, and that we've brought in a new chapter and really shaken up in a seismic way of the status quo, but also where it feels good and normal to do that.
Nice. I almost feel like it's like how you were explaining, right? Like we are in consumerization of health plans, which hasn't happened, like health insurance specifically. So this is like the right time, right tsunami that's coming in, right? Like which is going to benefit everyone, and there is competition in the market, and this is going to be the best thing that can happen because then we can all be
Yeah.
very, very much like employers can be happy, employees can be happy, and then for a long, long time. And we were talking before the recording that, like, this is the number one thing that matters to employees from employee engagement. You can talk whatever you want, culture and everything else. Those things are there, but people won't even sign the contract to join your company if you can't convince them on the offering that you have on your health benefits. That's the reality in US, right? So this is why this is such a game changing thing, and I'm like, why not? So many people should know about this. Like, I guess you are working towards that, and your demand is a
Yeah.
proof of that. Like why this is not just not just my feeling. This is like how the market is resonating with you too, uh,
Yeah.
which is great.
100%.
Uh,
And
and
thanks for helping
go
us
ahead.
spread the word too today. Thank you for helping us
Absolutely.
spread the word today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. So now specific, I want to ask you a couple of questions more personal in nature to your experience. Like, what is your advice would be, especially for women entrepreneurs and who are coming in highly regulated markets, like healthcare is one of them, financial system is another one, but specific to like what when you go in highly regulated market, and it feels like your previous experience was, even though with government it's also regulated in a way. So you are a perfect person to answer that, so I want to hear your thoughts. What's your advice there, especially for women?
Hmm. Well, on the regulation side, I'll tackle that one first. And I don't know that particular piece has a gender component to it, but I love regulated markets and I love bureaucracy. I know maybe I'm the only person ever to have said that, but if you figure out their incentive structure, there's always a paper trail, there's predictability. People come in and they like get mad at the paperwork and whatnot, but then if it just map it, if you understand it, and then you like then you just also then got to understand what do you got to change, what can you change and what you can't. Like there's parts with the US government. I remember they're like, hey, on this thing, if they ask for Comic Sans font 0.16, we're going to do Comic Sans font 0.16. Like don't pick that battle. Like so it's about like understanding the rules and understanding what you can and cannot change. And then once you do that, and then also once you realize that institutions are about people, and that once you get to know the people inside them and what's important to them, then it makes all of it make sense. So I think sometimes we think about institutions as a black box, and or we think we overestimate what we can and cannot change, and or we don't pick our battles right. If you get that right, actually regulated markets are super easy because they're actually transparent, and they you can see everything, and then once you can see everything, you can make predictions. But in terms of for female entrepreneurs, the uh, you know it's hard. I'm gonna acknowledge that. I try not to like be. I'm trying to keep the chip on my shoulder to a certain size, if you will, because I think I remind myself there's certain double standards. For example, female entrepreneurs definitely are asked more during fundraising what will go wrong, whereas our male counterparts are asked what will go right. Sometimes I feel like, oh man, like I've done all of this and like, but you'll go fund somebody else with like a fraction of my traction, and I just realized, okay, fine, I have to be better. And that unfortunately is probably a truth of other female entrepreneurs out there too. Like, you have to be better. And it sucks sometimes. It doesn't feel fair. It makes me angry. But then at the same time, what you get in return is a stronger, better company that has more endurance and also the opportunity to become a generational company as well. So I think that also comes back to, it's like understanding what you can and cannot change. And there's certain things in the world that are very unfair, and I'm not going to change it today, but you know what? I'm just going to be better. So
Very, very,
yeah,
very great
maybe hard to
perspective.
hear, but yeah,
Yeah, no, no, but valid points, right? Like, and I also like your perspective of bureaucracy, which also brings transparency. So that's kind of like following
yeah,
the trail there. And
yeah,
as far as, I mean, it's like for women entrepreneurs, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, I tell you, like, women entrepreneurs have made better companies. That's like data is there. So you are right in that too. Like, there is a data to prove that. And yeah, we are still catching up as a society, but this is why we want to have these conversations more, so more people can get in their brains this thought. That's the key here. All right, next question. I know that you have traveled and worked globally, and what I want to know from you is, what is like one experience that you have had and which has like the most lasting impact on you, both personally and professionally, that kind of like, stuck with you.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot to choose from. Like I've traveled, worked in over 20 countries, but if there's one, the story I will tell today is actually I had the opportunity to work in Bangladesh on uh, the US government for decades actually funded this NGO network called the Surjahashi Network, Smiling Sun, that provided free healthcare to over 35 million people. And they did it for a budget of maybe 10 to $20 million a year, to give you a sense of like first, like, universal healthcare, what does it actually cost? But they were then thinking, okay, how do we make this so it's not government funded? How do we make it sustainable? And I think about that example because actually that project I was there 7 years ago, and the project just put out like some reports of like what it accomplished. And there were 400 clinics, and uh, four of them were fully like making profitable at the time we started. Now, I think I don't know the exact number, but I think it's 35. So it's 35 out of 7 in 7 years. So I don't know. I think about that because I think about how we pay for healthcare, to be honest. And I think like overseas, right? Like the fact that 20, why that story sticks out is because everybody wants universal healthcare, and I think nobody wants to pay for it. And I think like that was true of that country. That's true of the United States too. But it's it influences my day to day today. It's not the most epic. I've worked in literal war zones. There's some times where I'm like, oh my gosh, this what have I done? This is the end. Like this is like I've made some risks in my life where I'm like, this is a scary situation. But that one, it gives a really good comparative base of like, okay, this is what healthcare looks like in a totally different context. And what might that teach us about the US context? And that's to me, our product today is about challenging how we pay for healthcare in America. And what we're saying is that the group model is one size fits none. So we're not going to take away employer sponsored healthcare. I think that's too big of a change for the US, at least for the interim. But what if the employers give cash and you switch the power dynamic to the consumer? What does that look like? But even further, there's an opportunity to challenge which service lines should be paid for from insurance, what should be paid for by cash, what should be paid for by like credit or like maybe a different financial instrument. And I tell the story about Bangladesh because that was the first time I had the opportunity to ask some of those questions. And that was even before I was asking it in the US context. So I think that once we do that, you have the opportunity to unlock a lot of value and think about there's a tension in healthcare of like, how do we pay for new innovation and continuing to make sure the cutting edge is there, but also making sure basic needs are met of the population and everybody has access to the care they need when they need it and from the right place. So that's I think about that a lot of, and it comes back to the question I started with, which is how do we live healthier and wealthier? So um yeah, that's it. So maybe a little
Uh,
more theoretical of an answer, but it also to, if 35 million people can be have free healthcare for like $20 million, and we spend in the US $4 trillion.
yeah.
So there's some math equations that need to be redone. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it certainly puts things in perspective just to like question more and build more in that
Yes.
direction. Okay, that's great. Um, Last question. This has been great. I like to ask this rather fun question. I call it my fun question. Um, you know, Tell us about a personal thing that no one in your professional circles knows about it, and this is your chance to tell the world. It could be anything,
It's my
and
chance to tell the world.
yeah, tell the world today. What would that be?
Well, most people in my professional network don't know. I I am a I actually am a Reiki master. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's basically comes from Japan. It's like a cousin of qigong or acupuncture or some of those arts, but it's energy healing. And so it started off as a hobby, and it kind of when you go through it, it can feel a lot like meditation. But yeah, something I do in my personal free time. So, but
Wow.
it's also
So,
something that our product actually can pay for. So, like if it doesn't fit within the normal insurance construct, you usually do see it. So when you're training to be a healer, sometimes they'll have you, work with. There's a lot of work with cancer patients and palliative care, and because it's supposed to be, it helps with sometimes pain relief or anxiety. But it's definitely these are kind of things that are out there in the world for in terms of wellness that, and I'm not advocating for it necessarily. Well, I am. That's not true. But I think it's like, I believe that kind of like that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You do what's right for you. But I think that the product that we're building today opens up possibility for other pathways for medicine and for wellness. And I'm not saying that this should replace something else. It's just more if you wanted to add to something, you could. So
fascinating. Well, that's a great share. So you are not just a company builder; you're also a Reiki master. So we're gonna put
mhm.
that along with this. This is great share. Thank you. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time. And if people or our listeners want to connect with you, reach out to you, how can or where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm on social media. You can contact me on LinkedIn. Look for Stacy Edgar. I'm on X, Twitter, X. I'm going to still call it Twitter. Stacy May. Those are the two easiest ways to reach me. And also Ventur.com as well. Uh,
All right, great. So X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter, by the way, so you're not alone. So that's that. And their website, venture.com. And Stacy, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time and your sharing these stories, sharing your experiences. I'm very gung ho about your company. What I learned today, I think that lot many people needs to know about it, and I'm glad that I could echo this message a little bit what the conversation we had today, but I'm very positive about I have no doubt that this company is going to be really big.
okay. Thank you so much.